Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham is joining us now, also a ranking member on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I want to dig into that in just a second, that letter in particular. Senator Graham, thanks for being here. But first, why is this investigation already concluded over the findings of the cocaine at the White House without a single suspect being named? I mean, isn't that the most secure building in America?
Apparently not. So here's what this story is telling us. That somebody brought cocaine into the White House and the Secret Service has no idea who did it. That's not confidence inspiring. I appreciate the Secret Service. They're brave men and women. But can you imagine if this happened on Trump's watch? Somebody needs to look at the procedures protecting the White House from top to bottom. Somebody needs to be fired because somebody allowed cocaine to get into the White House. And once it was there, we can't prove who did it, is unnerving. But somebody needs to be fired for letting it happen.
Well, it is quite remarkable, and I'm sure the American people, our viewers, have questions over how do you end the investigation
really.
this fast? And how can you get that into the building and then leave the building and not leave a trace that they can identify a suspect? We'll see where it goes next. Meanwhile, big questions over these business dealings in Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. What are you learning? Obviously, this letter is very key. Where does all of this go next, considering Garland's facing this deadline on the Hunter investigation witnesses?
Okay, so here's the big news for me. Thanks to Senator Grassley's investigation, the whistleblower told us that there was a 1023, which is an FBI form recording tips and investigative leads that suggest Hunter Biden and Joe Biden had conversations with Burisma top officials, a gas company in Ukraine. If that was true, everything Hunter Biden and Joe Biden said is a lie. The FBI was told by a confidential informant that they had on the payroll that this Burisma guy said, I've got tapes of me talking to Hunter and Joe Biden, 17 of them, as an insurance policy to protect me. I don't know what happened to that investigation. I do know this, that the U.S. Attorney in Pennsylvania considered those allegations not to be Russian disinformation. They briefed the Weiss team about the allegation that Hunter and Joe Biden were talking with Burisma gas officials about bribes. What happened? Why did they conclude it was false? If they concluded that, are they going to prosecute? If not, why not? What happened to that storyline?
Well, so quite clearly what you're telling us is we learned that this Form 1023 did contain information about the president himself.
Yeah. Well, so this is what's so earth-shattering. I don't know if it's true or not. But I know the FBI was informed by somebody on their payroll, a confidential informant, that they had reason to believe that a Burisma official was talking about recordings with Joe Biden and Hunter Biden about business deals in Ukraine as an insurance policy. What the hell happened to that allegation? Was it swept under the rug? Did they prove it to be false? If so, how did they prove it to be false? I don't trust the system anymore. But he will not tell me, Wise will not tell me what he did with that allegation. I know he was briefed about it. I know others in the Department of Justice did not consider it Russian disinformation. I'm not going to stop till I get an answer of what did they find.
Well, and this Weiss letter that was sent to you, Senator, says your questions about the allegations contained in an FBI FD 1023 form relate to an ongoing investigation. As such, I cannot comment on them at this time. Well, why not?
That will not stand. There's a couple scenarios. If they're actually investigating that activity as a potential crime, I'll back off. But if all they're going to charge Hunter Biden with is tax evasion and having a gun illegally, then the question becomes, did you take seriously the allegation about Hunter Biden and Joe Biden talking to a Ukrainian official about bribes? He's not going to get away with telling me as part of an investigation. The American people need to know what happened to that allegation. Was it seriously looked at? Or is it like other allegations that were just put over in the corner and ignored? I don't trust the system to tell me the truth without looking behind the curtain, and I'm going to look behind the curtain.
All right, got it. Meanwhile, I want to ask you about what appeared to be a bipartisan grilling of Christopher Wray yesterday.
Yeah.
In particular, this exchange with Rep. Jayapal on the FBI purchasing information, personal information on Americans. Watch this.
Do you know if the contracts with data brokers like the ones I described provide location data?
My testimony about purchasing commercial database information that includes location data derived from internet advertising remains the same, which is that we currently do not do that.
But the information that you have that has already been purchased, does it contain location
Again,
information?
I'm not trying to be obtuse or difficult here.
Can I get your reaction to that exchange? It seems disturbing on many levels to learn, and we learned, by the way, through this declassified report now from the Office of Director of National Intelligence, that the federal government is purchasing large amounts of data on Americans, and by the way, can be sold to third parties. So what did that tell you?
Well, it tells me he doesn't know the answer to the question. So I think the FBI is suffering from abuse of power. Trust has been lost regarding the FBI on both sides of the aisle. And the consequences of losing trust have to be balanced. We have to make sure that he answers the question, are you buying data of American citizens? But the next issue that we should be talking about is we have a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act that allows the United States to surveil foreigners in foreign countries about terrorist activity directed toward the United States. That is due to expire at the end of this year. If that program goes blind, the likelihood of terrorists being able to attack the United States without us knowing it goes up. The reason we're having a problem with that reauthorization is people don't trust the FBI. We got to do two things. We got to fix the FBI, and we got to be able to protect ourselves against terrorism.
And it shouldn't be that difficult to explain. You know, Christopher Wray responding to her about these data purchases, he says respectfully, it's a topic that gets very involved to explain. So he'd prefer to have our subject matter experts come back up and brief you, and they can answer your questions. He was in the hot seat to answer those very questions, and it shouldn't be that difficult.
Well, the answer is we do or we don't. We purchase data,
Correct.
Here's why, here's what we do with it, or we don't. That shouldn't be that hard, and I can't believe somebody didn't think through. Maybe you'll be asked about this. But what I'm trying to do is say, if you're upset with the FBI, you have every reason to be. If you think they've abused power against Carter Page and getting a FISA warrant, you're damn right. But we need a court, the FISA court, to be able to issue warrants against people suspected of collaborating with foreign enemies. But you got to have a system that works. The FISA court rebuked the Department of Justice. We need to reform the FISA warrant application against Americans. But the FISA surveillance program against foreigners in foreign lands protects us. There's no requirement to have a warrant to surveil somebody who's a foreign citizen in foreign lands talking about attacking America.
It's really remarkable. All three of those topics we just had you on. Senator, appreciate your time today. Thanks for coming on the program.